I'm Arthur. I'm 81 years old. My wife, Martha, died 8 months ago. We were married for 45 years. If you came to the funeral, you would have heard a lot of nice things. You would have heard that we were a pillar of the community. You would have heard that I was a devoted husband, a steady provider, a rock. People came up to me, shaking my hand, telling me I should be proud of the life we built together, and I nodded. I shook their hands. I accepted their condolences, because for 45 years, I believed that too. I believed I was the good husband. I believed I was the rock. But 3 weeks ago, I was cleaning out the closet in the spare bedroom. It was the room Martha used for her sewing and her reading. I found a box on the top shelf, tucked behind some old winter blankets. Inside was a stack of notebooks. They weren't hidden exactly. They were just put away. They were her diaries. I hesitated before I opened the first one. I felt like I was intruding, but the house is so quiet now. The silence here, it has a weight to it. It presses down on you. I just wanted to hear her voice again. I wanted to know what she was thinking in all those years we stood side by side. So I sat down on the floor, my old knees popping, and I opened the blue one. It was dated 1984. We had been married for 5 years then. I started reading. And within an hour, the version of my life I had carried in my head, the version where I was the hero, the provider, the good man, it completely disintegrated. These notebooks proved that I wasted 45 years. Not because I didn't love her, but because I loved her in a language she couldn't hear, and I refused to learn the one she was speaking. I need to tell you about this. I need to say it out loud, because the book is sitting on my desk right now, and looking at it hurts physically. But I can't throw it away. It's the only truth I have left. Let me go back a bit. I was an engineer. I worked for a large firm downtown. I took pride in that. I was raised in a time, and by a father who taught me that a man's worth is determined by what he can provide. Love wasn't a conversation. Love was a roof that didn't leak. Love was a car that started every morning. Love was a college fund for the kids. I worked hard. I worked late. I traveled for business. I remember the 1980s as a blur of airports and conference rooms. I remember coming home late, smelling like stale airplane coffee, and seeing the lights on in the house and feeling a swell of pride. I did that. I paid for those lights. I paid for that warmth. That was my gift to her. I thought that was enough. I remember one specific night in 1989. I had just closed a massive contract. It meant a bonus. It meant we could finally pave the driveway and maybe upgrade the station wagon. I came home bursting with the news. Martha was in the kitchen. She was making stew. I remember she looked tired. I told her about the money. I told her about the driveway. I expected her to be thrilled. I expected a celebration. She smiled. She said, "That's wonderful, Arthur." But her smile didn't reach her eyes. She went back to stirring the pot. At the time, I was annoyed. I thought she was being ungrateful. I thought, doesn't she understand how hard I bust my back for this family? Doesn't she get that I'm doing this for her? I carried that annoyance for days. I felt unappreciated. Then last week, I found the entry from that night in her diary. October 14th, 1989, she wrote, "Arthur came home late again. He won a big contract. He was so happy about the money. He talked for 20 minutes about the driveway and the car. I wanted to tell him that I had a scare at the doctor's today. I wanted to tell him that I've been feeling so lonely that I talked to the radio just to hear a voice. But he was so proud of the money. I didn't want to ruin it. I just wanted him to hold me. I just wanted him to ask, 'How was your day?' just once. But he didn't. He just talked about the driveway. I feel like I'm living with a banker, not a husband." I sat there on the floor of the spare room, and I wept. I wept for the man I thought I was, and I wept for the woman who was lonely in the same room as me. It wasn't just that one entry. It was the pattern. It was 45 years of missed signals. There was an entry from our 20th anniversary. I bought her a diamond bracelet. It cost me 2 months' salary. I presented it to her at dinner at a steakhouse. I felt like a king. Her entry read, "The bracelet is beautiful." It must have cost a fortune. I feel guilty wearing it. All I wanted was for us to go away for the weekend, just the two of us, to that cabin by the lake where we went when we were dating. I wanted to walk in the woods and hold hands, but he bought a bracelet instead. It feels cold on my wrist. It feels like a handcuff. Do you understand? I was solving problems she didn't have. I was providing financial security, which is important, yes, but I was using it as a shield. I was using my work and my providing as an excuse not to do the hard work of intimacy. Intimacy is scary. Opening up is scary. Talking about your feelings for a man of my generation feels unnatural. It feels weak. So I chose the easy route. I chose work. I chose tasks. If the faucet was leaking, I fixed it immediately. If the grass was long, I mowed it. If the car made a noise, I took it to the shop. I was busy. I was always busy. And I told myself that my busyness was a virtue. I told myself, look at how much I do for her. But looking back now, through the lens of her handwriting, I see that my busyness was a wall. I stayed busy so I wouldn't have to sit still and just be with her. Because if I sat still, I might have to talk about things I didn't know how to talk about. I might have to hear things I didn't want to hear. There's a section in the middle of the journals from the late 90s where the entries get shorter. This is the part that haunts me the most. In the early years, she wrote about her frustration. She wrote about wanting to scream. She wrote about trying to get my attention. She wrote, I asked Arthur if he wanted to take a painting class with me. He laughed and said he can't draw a straight line. I didn't want him to draw. I wanted him to be with me, she wrote. I tried to tell Arthur about the book I'm reading. He nodded and turned up the volume on the news. I stopped talking, but then, around 1998, the tone changes. She stops complaining. She stops writing about trying to reach me. She starts writing about her garden. She starts writing about her book club. She starts writing about her friends. She wrote, Barbara and I went to the museum today. It was lovely. We had lunch and talked for 3 hours. It's nice to be heard, she wrote. I planted the hydrangeas myself. Arthur offered to hire a landscaper, but I told him no. I like the dirt on my hands. It's mine. Reading those pages, I realized that she had given up. She hadn't stopped loving me. She cooked my meals. She ironed my shirts. She slept in my bed. But she had stopped looking to me for connection. She had realized that the well was dry, so she stopped lowering the bucket. She built a life around me, but not with me. We were two planets orbiting the same sun, but never touching. And I, in my arrogance, in my blindness, I thought this was success. I thought, look at us. No fights, no drama, just a smooth, quiet life. I didn't know that silence isn't peace. Sometimes silence is just defeat. I retired when I was 68. I thought, okay, now we will have that time. I bought an RV. I had this big plan that we were going to drive across the country. We were going to see the Grand Canyon. We were going to see Yellowstone. I brought the brochure home and slapped it on the table. What do you think, Martha? Freedom. I remember she looked at the brochure and she looked at me and she gave a small, tired smile. That sounds nice, Arthur, she said. We went. We drove for 3 months. I thought we were having the time of our lives. I was driving, navigating, setting up the camp. I was the captain of the ship. But I found the journal from that trip. She wrote, we are at the Grand Canyon. It is magnificent, but Arthur is stressed about the gas mileage. He's stressed about the hookups at the re-park. He spends every evening mapping out the route for the next day. I wanted to sit by the fire and look at the stars. I wanted to talk about how small we are compared to this canyon. But he's inside, checking the weather report. We are thousands of miles from home, but we are in the exact same place. I wasted that trip, just like I wasted the anniversaries. Just like I wasted the Tuesday nights. I treated our life together like a project to be managed, not an experience to be shared. And the tragedy is, she tried to tell me. I have memories now, flashing back, of moments I dismissed. I remember her standing in the doorway of my study, holding 2 cups of tea. Are you busy, Arthur? And I remember saying, without looking up from my papers, just let me finish this, Martha. I'll be out in a minute. But I never went out in a minute. I'd finish an hour later, and by then she was asleep or watching TV, and the moment was gone. I remember her asking, do you think we're happy? And I remember laughing. Of course we're happy. We have a paid-off house. We have healthy kids. Why wouldn't we be happy? I dismissed her question because the answer terrified me. I answered with logistics because I couldn't answer with emotion. And now she's gone. The house is paid off. The driveway is paved. The retirement accounts are full. And I am sitting in an empty room, reading a book that tells me I was a stranger to the person who knew me best. I can't fix this. That's the hard truth. I can't go back to 1989 and ask her about her doctor's appointment. I can't go back to the anniversary and return the bracelet and drive her to the cabin. I can't go back to the Rêve and put down the map and look at the stars. The time is gone. It is spent, and I spent it on the wrong things. I know there are men listening to this, and women too, but mostly men, who are exactly where I was. You are working hard. You are exhausted. You feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. You think that by keeping the roof over their heads, you are doing your job, and you are doing a job, but you are not doing the whole job. If your wife or your husband comes to you with something small, a story about their day, a worry about a friend, a desire to take a walk, and you brush it off because you have big things to worry about, you are making a mistake. You are laying a brick in a wall that will eventually become too high to climb over. You think you have time. You think, I'll work hard now so we can enjoy life later. But later is a gamble. And even if later comes, like it did for me, you might find that you've forgotten how to talk to each other by the time you get there. You might find that you've become such good roommates that you've forgotten how to be soulmates. I wish I had known that intimacy isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. I wish I had known that listening is a form of love, maybe the most important form. I wish I had known that being right about the finances or the route or the house repairs is worthless if you are wrong about the heart of the person living there with you. There is one last entry I want to share with you. It was written about 2 weeks before she passed. She was very weak then. Her handwriting is shaky. She wrote, "Arthur sat by my bed today. He looked so scared. He kept fluffing my pillows and asking if I needed water. He's trying so hard to fix this. He's always tried to fix everything. I wish I could tell him that he doesn't need to fix anything. I just want him to hold my hand. I just want him to look at me and not look away. I love him. I've always loved him. I just wish he had let me in." She forgave me. In the end, she forgave me. But reading that, knowing that even at the end, I was bustling around fluffing pillows instead of just connecting with her, it breaks me. I was trying to be a nurse when she needed a husband. I was trying to be useful when she needed me to be present. I'm 81. I don't know how many years I have left, but I know how I'm going to spend them. I'm going to try to learn to be the man she wanted, even if she's not here to see it. I've started sitting on the porch in the evenings, just sitting, no newspaper, no phone, just watching the sun go down. I've started listening to the silence. I've started talking to my kids differently. When they call, I don't just ask about their jobs or their cars. I ask them, "Are you happy?" And I wait for the answer. It feels awkward. It feels foreign. But I'm trying. If you are listening to this and you are sitting in a room with someone you love, put down the phone, turn off the TV, close the laptop, look at them. Ask them a question, and then, and this is the hard part, shut up and listen. Don't try to solve their problem. Don't try to offer advice. Don't check your watch. Just listen. Create a moment that they won't have to write about in a diary because you were actually there to share it with them. Don't wait until you find a notebook in a dusty box to realize you missed the best part of your life. I miss her. God, I miss her. And I would give every penny of that security I worked so hard for just to have 1 hour back. 1 hour where I wasn't the provider, but just her Arthur. Don't make my mistake. The price is too high, and you pay it alone.